So let's open Jupyter Notebook, jupyter.org/track. Go to Jupyter Notebook. And this one. Okay, let's go to the new notebook, Python 3. Okay. So today we'll start with logic building. How do we build the logic? Right? It's very basic but very important topic. Okay. To implement the logic building in Python, right? There is something called iterator, right? There is something called iterators. Iterators, what are iterators? Basically, iterator or iterator. These are basically a mechanism by which we can execute the same piece of code again and again. Right? It's a mechanism by which we can execute the same piece of code multiple times. Okay? So there are two types of iterator we have in Python. We also call it as a loop. Okay. So there are two types of loops we have in Python. We have something called for loop and while. For loop is a collection based loop and while loop is a condition based loop, right? So in for loop, we need to provide the collection of data, and then for loop start executing the code based on the collection. If there are five data, then for loop will execute for five times. In while loop, we have to pass the condition. If the condition is true, then only the code will execute. If it's false, then it will stop. Right? So it is condition driven. And for loop is collection driven. Let me create a collection using a square bracket. Okay. So I've created a collection using the square bracket where I'm adding four numbers 10, 20, 30, and 40. Okay. Now, if I want to implement a for loop on this, right? So I have to execute, I have to iterate from which collection? From collection L. Right? For X in L. Okay. Colon. And then enter. What does this mean? Colon represents the code block in Python, block of code. So if you want to write multiple lines of code and group it, in other languages we use flower brackets, something like this. This is what we do in other languages. In Python, we need to use colon, and then whatever we write should be after the tab space. Okay. If you do not provide the tab space, you start getting syntax error, indentation error. So I'm getting indentation error. So if I'm putting a code block, right, that means this should be inside the tab, tab space. So this tab space represents that print x is inside the loop, right? How about this line? Print and is it inside or outside?
Inside, sir.
This is also inside. If you want to make it outside, then explicitly you have to bring it outside and then start writing the code. Now I can say like print x is part of the loop, print end is outside the loop. Okay. Now how many times this loop will run? How many item we have in the loop? There are
Four, four.
four
Four.
items. So loop will run for four times. So the output will be 10, 20, 30, 40 and end. Right? How does it work? From this collection, it takes the first item, store into X, and then goes inside print X. Come back, take the next item, store into X, go inside and print X. Come back, take the third item, store into X, go inside, print. Come back, take the fourth item, store into X, go inside, print. So this will keep on executing until it reaches the end of the collection. Once it reaches to the end of the collection, then it goes to the last line, which is print end. What will happen if I do this? What should be the output now? Because end is also part of the loop, right? So even that will execute four times, right? Just execute this. Okay. Done, right? So we have created a list and then we are iterating using a for loop, right? Any block of code if you are writing in Python, then it should be started with colon, right? So that's what we have done, colon. And then whatever code you want to put as part of the block, then that should be with the tab space, right? So if you want to write something outside the for loop, then you have to come explicitly out and then write it down. Let's create a dictionary, key colon value, key colon value. Okay. Now if I want to iterate the dictionary for x in D, okay, colon print x. Now what should be the output? What x will contain? Key or value? What should x contain? Key or value?
Key.
So x will contain the key. Okay. If I want to get the value of this, then what should we do? For x in D, print D of x. Indexing concept, right? The square bracket, pass the key name, you get the value. Okay. In dictionary, we have few more function called d dot keys, which gives me the collection of keys, right? And then we have d dot values that gives me the collection of values. D dot keys will also contain the collection of keys because we have a collection of D dot keys is a collection of keys. And when we are putting that under the for loop, we are iterating the collection of keys. Right? So X will contain the key name. In this case, what X will contain? D dot values is a collection of values, right? When we are iterating the value, x will contain the value. Okay. There was one more function called d dot items that gives me the collection of key and value, right? D dot item gives me the collection of keys and values. So it is a tuple of, it contains a tuple, right, which contains key comma value, collection of tuples, key comma value. Now, interestingly, if I put one more variable, see what happens. It start unpacking and X started pointing to key, Y started pointing to value. Right? So D dot item is a collection of keys and values which internally contains two collection of values and collection of keys. And both can be simultaneously, it can be iterated. So how we are iterating? Putting x comma y, it unpacks automatically. X starts pointing to keys, y starts pointing to values. The same thing I want to try with a list. So let me create two lists. Can I do the same thing with list? Passing to list L comma L1, and I want X to iterate L and Y to iterate L1 simultaneously, the way we have done for the dictionary, right? So same thing if I try out, what happens? I'm getting error. What is the error? Too many values to unpack. Okay. What is the difference between this code, this one, and this one? Why we are not getting error with d dot items? Why we are getting error when we do L comma L1? What is the difference?
Here we did not specify the dictionary that we are collecting the data from the dictionary, but previously we had mentioned d dot items.
So
That is
previously we have specified here, right? So that is why it is working.
yes.
But why this code is working and why this code is giving me error? This one is giving me error, right? This code. And this one is working. So what is the difference between both? But it says like too many values to unpack. What does that mean? We are passing L comma L1. That means we are passing two collection to the loop. In D dot items, how many collection we are passing? One single collection. Inside that collection, there are two. But overall, it is going as a single package. In case of list L comma L1, both are going as a separate package. And inside a for loop, you cannot you cannot iterate more than one collection. It should always go as a single collection, which is the reason we are getting error. So there is a function in Python called zip. What does this function do? This function package. You pass multiple collection, it package into a single collection. And now if I execute, it is working. So one point to note down here is for loop does not take multiple collection. For loop always takes single collection, right? I passed D also. Now X is pointing to L, Y is pointing to L1, and Z is pointing to D. Okay. Clear, right? So using GIF function, you can pass multiple collection, package into a single collection and start iterating simultaneously using the same loop. Okay. Now, in this, how many D contains 3 items, L and L1 contains 4 items, right? So it will always go to the collection with minimum count. So D contains minimum count, right? So it will iterate for 3 times. Okay. Now, so we know how to iterate a dictionary and a list. Okay. As of now, we don't have a collection of numbers. In Python, to get a collection of numbers, right? If I want to suppose print 1 to 100, so I'll not be creating a list and insert 1 to 100 first, right? We need we need something which by default gives me collection of numbers, right? So there's something called range, where you pass the range. Range is a collection of consecutive numbers. For x in range of 9, when I'm giving range of 9, it starts with 0 and go till 8. 9 is not included, right? It will always start from 0 and go till the ending index minus 1. 9 is not included. When I'm giving two values, now what happens, starts with 5 and go till 8. And then when we give two values, three values, now what is happening? It is starting from 2, going till 12 or 11. Starts with 2 and goes till 11.
Yes, sir.
I mean, yeah, 10. It will go till 10. But ideally it goes till 11, right? And then with the steps of 2, with the difference of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And after 10, the next item is 12. But it can go till 11, right? So it will stop at 10. It works with the negative numbers also, right? Minus 10, minus, start with minus 10, go till minus 19 with the step of minus 1. Okay? Clear? Now tell me, using range, how can I print the list? I have a list. So I have a list. Now using range, how can we print the list? How many times I need to run the loop to print the list?
4 times.
4 times because there are 4 items.
Right.
Can I do range of 4
Yes, sir, we can do.
for x in range of 4? Print x. I'm getting 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. If I relate to the list, then these are not the values. What are these? 0, 1, 2, 3. Index, right? Index of the list. If these are the index, can I do L of x to get the value? Right? Now instead of 4, instead of hard coding the value, can we do length of L? LEM, len of L.
Yes, sir, perfect.
Okay. Now can we do the reverse? I want to print in the reverse order. What should we what should we do for the reverse order? How should we print in the reverse order? So for x in range of, from where, so from where we should start? 0, 1, 2, 3. So we should start from 3, right? 3 till where we should go? 3, 2, 1, 0. We should go till 0, right? That means I need to enter minus 1. Then only it will go till 0, right? And then minus 1.
Sir, can I know one thing?
Yeah.
Sir, this is the class like we have started from list and dictionary. So
Mhm.
previously you had taken classes, right? I did not attend
Yeah,
all this.
that I'll give you the backup on this coming Saturday and Sunday. Those are like the data types that we have covered: list, dictionary, tuple, and set.
Please share all those things, sir, so that I also can like
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a look on that.
I'll
Okay.
share the recording and plus I'll have a backup session on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So we are starting with 3, going till 0 in the negative direction, right? Minus 1. And that way we are able to print in the reverse order. Any other logic? Can we also do range of index also starts with minus 1, right? From right to left. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. So can we do this? Start with minus 1, go till minus 5, the difference of minus 1. Okay. So this is one more technique. In the first technique, what we are doing, we are starting the index from 3, positive index. In the second technique, we are starting the index with minus 1. And using both, we are able to print in the reverse order. Now using this, like when we are starting with 0, when x is 0, what I want to print? Let's say the last item, right? When x is 0, we want to print the last item. When x is 1, second last item. When x is 2, third last. When x is 4, last. 3 last, right? So can we see a pattern here? When x is 0, we want to print 3. When x is 1, we want to print 2. When x is 2, we want to print 1. And when x is 3, then we want to print 0. So can we see some pattern here? X is increasing, overall the index is decreasing, right? So can I make it 3 minus x? What is x? 0. right? So 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. So can we just do 3 minus 6 and we get the reverse. So here we are not changing anything in the range. Range is starting from 0 and going till 3. What we are doing is we are manipulating the expression. Within the square bracket, we are changing the expression. Execute from your end. Okay, clear, right? So when we are implementing the logic, what you need to take care is the pattern. If you are able to find out the pattern, then we can convert into the expression, right? Like the pattern what we found here is x is 0, we want to print 3. When x is 1, we want to print 2. That means x is increasing, that index is decreasing, right? So how we found this expression 3 minus x. Now if you want to generalize this, it can be written as L of length minus 1 minus x. Can be written like this, right? Suppose I want to print this pattern. To print this pattern, how many times I need to run the loop? 4 times. So when x, let me write for x in a range of 4. When x is 0, how many times we are printing b? When x is 0, we are printing once, right? When x is 1, we will be printing 2. When x is 2, 3. When x is 3, we are printing 4. That means it is always x plus 1 times of b. X plus 1. And then there is a concept of repetition, right? Where you multiply an integer with a string and it will start repeating. Hmm? I didn't get you. You didn't understand? See, the pattern what I can see here is if I do range of 4, range of 4 will start from 0 to 3. When x is 0, there is only 1b. When x is 1, there are 2b. When x is 2, there are 3b. And when x is 3, there are 4b. Right? So it is always x plus 1 into b. Repetition concept. Now to make it more generic, let me take the input from the user. So input is the function to take the input from the user. Within the function, we can pass the message. So the message which what we are passing here, that will be displayed on the screen, and whatever we enter will be stored into n. Okay. By default, input function takes string data, string object, right? But we want integer, which is the reason we are doing int of input. Whatever we are getting, we are converting it back to the integer object, right? And here let me give n. Now if I give 7, see, execute from your end. Okay. Clear, right? Now if I put one more loop for x in, let's say, range of 5. Now what happens? We have created one more loop and this 3 lines of code is inside that loop. So that means the outer loop will run for how many times? 5 times. Right? And each time it will ask the user to enter the number, and based on this number it will bring the pattern. So it will go for 5 times. Now this this also we can make it user input. We can take from the user how many times you want to print the pattern, and based on that it will my outer loop will execute. Clear, right? Now using this concept, I'm giving some assignment. Try it from your end. Okay. So try this using the same concept for loop with range. Okay, first find out the pattern, then convert into a program. Once you get the output, think of one more solution. Clear?